The good news is, I've just got one or two very quick slides to talk to you about and a few things that you as parents will be doing to help with this process. And on your sheets, because obviously these are a bit woo from the back, if you picked up a sheet from my charming assistants on the way in, you'll have seen these three little quotations. I'd like to just summarise the whole thing. So if you've been asleep for a long time, you have time to wake up soon. First of all, this is from a professor at the university, one of the top universities in the country which our students often go to. And he's talking there about the state of undergraduates. He's not too fussed about how many grades they've got, how many A-levels they've got, or what the grades are. A lot of things up there go beyond school. Being able to deal with challenge, having PE lessons like that, building those things up through the school will enable you to be more successful in higher education. Right? Irrespective of what grades you've got, those kinds of things, resilience, independence of thought, initiative, stuff like that. And if, for example, you didn't go to university, you went to an apprenticeship, you went to work for a company, if any of you work at all, I don't know, if you have a job, then I just change the name at the bottom. And if you want to be successful in a job, you need resilience, initiative, those kinds of things. Right. Clearly, in generations before, it's become a bit of an issue maybe. We can talk for many hours on why that might have been. The education system is realising that we need to put out people not just with the grades, but the skills, the mindsets, and those kinds of things that we were just talking about as well. The second one, I think you've just seen, it's good to know Ofsted, which we've not mentioned too many times, but we've done quite well. What's the Ofsted count? We've done quite well this evening, not talking too much about Ofsted, but the good news, as Mrs. Sims talked you through earlier on, is Ofsted are now, I was going to say catching up, that's a bit rude. If you are Ofsted inspector, you can come and punch me later. Ofsted have been at odds, I think, with some of these initiatives. Educational research, looking at what works, and what Ofsted are expecting in lessons, there has been a tension there, and Michael Wilshaw, as the Majesty's Chief Inspector, suggests that his team are looking for the kinds of things we've been talking about, challenge, deep learning, what he calls progress up there. There's obviously that's coming much closer together, so some good news on that front. Professor Philip Adey, who unfortunately died recently, is up there with his quantitative acceleration, and again, when he says in that first line what the research shows, he's talking about a lifetime's worth of research. He spent his life pretty much in quantitative acceleration in that field, basically defined most of it, and you can see what he's talking about there, things like challenge, metacognition, social construction, getting kids to work together to solve problems that aren't easy, those sorts of things, build skills that improve grades, make them better undergraduates, make them better employees, and so forth. I have a tiny theory which I'll squeeze in just at the end because we have to have some astronomy. You can play Spot the Renaissance Astronomer if you want to. I'll start you off with Galileo, top right, Copernicus next to him. There are many, many books written about how do we change from thinking we're at the centre of everything and the sun goes around us. And at some point later on, we suddenly think that we know the Earth is going around the sun. How did that change happen? Well, Copernicus you might have heard of, he's often given the credit, Galileo. But actually, if you pick into that, that's not an easy question. It's one of Mrs. Sims' slides, it's quite a difficult question. It's an open-ended question. And it's not very easy. You can find the roots of it back in ancient Egypt. There's theories that back the ancient Egyptian fascination with the sun got many early astronomers thinking, well, perhaps that's the centre. The Dark Ages in Europe, where nothing was done really, and astronomy was done in the Middle East. Again, people there asked the question, no one was really sure. Isaac Newton, maybe his idea of gravity was the final proof. When did that change actually happen? Because I think we are, it's going to sound a really cheesy phrase, and I'll take it out of the video, I think we are approaching, hopefully, a renaissance in education, where we are really starting to focus on the things that matter, and therefore to make real progress and to really raise standards. How do we know we're in that position? Well, if you look into that change in astronomy, it came when lots of people working on different things started to find similar results. That's when the Copernican revolution, as it's called, really started to get together, and something that people had wondered about for thousands, possibly tens of thousands of years, really started to go. And my feeling is that's starting to happen in education. Challenge is in behaviour for learning, it's in cognitive acceleration, it's in all kinds of things. Deep learning, rather than just the kind of busy work that Mrs. Sims talked about. Deep learning focusing on actually making progress and understanding things, the growth mindsets and the formative feedback. Many people coming at it from different directions are finding the same common themes. and with my little scientist head on, that often suggests we're about to really start to get the right answer, as it were. Okay. What can you do as parents? Well, some of these things don't work very well if they're just doing them in the classroom. It's making the skills they practice in lessons into habits for life, and that's where you guys, who are responsible for them 75% of the time, really do come in. The kind of feedback in books. You may find books coming home that don't have marks in, that are marked by someone who's clearly not an adult. Those sorts of things. Please don't write it for complaint necessarily, unless it is really bad. You may find those sorts of things, and they're being done for a reason. As we talked about earlier, the ideas of formative feedback mean that students' exercise books may look very different to what they looked like when you were in school, for example. Okay. The mindsets thing is a tricky one. The idea of building resilience, building the growth rather than the fixed mindset. A nice phrase I like there is the third one, which is praising the process, not the product. Which I remember thinking about, and then I became a dad and just went straight into, what a fantastic drawing. You've tried really hard. It's really hard to try it when you get home. It's really difficult to do. If you always praise the product, you are building the fixed mindset. You need to praise the process, the effort that's gone into it links tremendously with what Mr. Douglas was talking about. The PE department are working really hard on that process. Other areas of the school are as well, and parents obviously have a big part to play there. Okay. Contacts are there. If I'm not there, Mrs. Sims, Mr. Douglas, if we've zipped through stuff this evening which you wanted some more stuff about, then by all means, you've got the email address on the sheet there, so by all means, send me an email. I was going to ask for feedback, but I have to say at this time of the evening, ask you to fill out a questionnaire, just trying to get more. Seriously, for Ofsted, we would like, if you've enjoyed this evening, or you have any views about this evening really, we would like to have that information. It's very valuable for us in terms of evidencing some of the things that we're working on. So if you do have a moment, and you can send any of us an email, that would be really helpful. Okay. As I say, everybody on the list is here, and they're going to stay around. The 4 gentlemen over here I want to have a word with shortly. We have tea and coffee over here. We have some biscuits. Are there any biscuits there? Yes, there are. There are biscuits over here. It's a foul night, so please, if you have time, stop, have a cup of tea and a drink, and chat to anybody you like. Thank you very much.